OpenAI made about $13 billion last year and lost far more than that. According to financial documents that leaked and were independently verified by the Financial Times, OpenAI booked roughly $13 billion in revenue in 2025 and posted an operating loss of about $21 billion. The headline net loss was even uglier, around $38.5 billion. So the obvious question is the one almost nobody asks out loud. Where did all that money actually go? And the harder question underneath it, does artificial intelligence actually make money or just spend it? Let me show you the machine, drawn out, so you can see exactly where the cash flows. Start with the good news, because it is real. OpenAI is growing at a speed that almost never happens. Revenue more than tripled in a single year, from $3.7 billion in 2024 to $13 billion in 2025. ChatGPT went from 300 million weekly users at the end of 2024 to more than 800 million by the end of 2025, and around 900 million by early 2026. By March of 2026, OpenAI's revenue run rate had climbed past $25 billion a year, roughly $2 billion a month. On the demand side, this is one of the fastest growing products in history. Nobody serious disputes that. Now the bad news, because growing fast and making money are two completely different things. In 2025, OpenAI's total costs hit about $34 billion, against $13 billion in revenue. So for roughly every dollar that came in, about $2.50 went out. And here's the part that decides everything. The single biggest cost is compute. The chips and the data centers that train and run the models. Cost of revenue alone, the raw cost of just answering your questions, was about $7.5 billion. Research and development was over $19 billion, and a huge slice of all of it flowed to one company, Microsoft. OpenAI paid Microsoft about $17 billion in 2025 for cloud and for compute. More than $10 billion of that was for research compute alone, which is more than half of OpenAI's entire research budget. Just running the models for users, what the industry calls inference, cost about $5 billion in the first half of 2025 on Azure alone. Think about what that means. Every time you ask ChatGPT a question, it costs OpenAI real money. At their scale, serving hundreds of millions of people, those pennies become billions. The product gets more expensive the more popular it gets. That is the opposite of how most software works. And the year before tells the same story, only louder. In 2024, OpenAI made $3.7 billion and lost about $5 billion. In 2025, revenue more than tripled, but the loss exploded almost 8 times over. That is the warning sign. When you grow fast and your losses grow even faster, scale is not saving you. Scale is the problem. The bigger they get, the more compute they burn. So that is the cash story. Enormous revenue. Even more enormous costs. Compute eats the difference, and the difference is getting wider, not narrower. Now, the twist. Because the way this boom is financed makes the whole thing look bigger than the money actually is. In September of 2025, Nvidia, the company that makes the chips, agreed to invest up to $100 billion into OpenAI, to help OpenAI build roughly 10 gigawatts of new data centers, enough electricity to power a major city. And in return, OpenAI agreed to spend that money buying and deploying millions of Nvidia chips. Read that again. The chip maker gives money to the customer. The customer uses the money to buy chips from the chip maker. The money goes in a circle. And when it comes back around, Nvidia gets to count it as revenue. Sales are up, the stock goes up, the boom looks real. Analysts have a name for this. They call it, quote, circular financing. One analyst at Seaport Global said the deals carry, quote, a whiff of circular financing, and called it bubble-like behavior. He compared it to asking your parents to co-sign your mortgage so the bank thinks you can afford the house. An analyst at Bernstein put it plainly. The deal would, quote, clearly fuel circular concerns. And one research firm estimated that for every $10 billion Nvidia invests in OpenAI, it gets back about $35 billion in chip purchases. So Nvidia spends 10 to book 35. On paper, it is a genius trade. In reality, it is partly funding its own sales. The investor is also the supplier. The customer is also the product. And to be clear, none of this is illegal. These are deals signed in public, not crimes. The concern analysts raise is that they make demand look stronger than it really is. And it is not just Nvidia. OpenAI committed to buy more than $250 billion of cloud from Microsoft. It signed a deal worth over $300 billion with Oracle. It agreed to deploy tens of billions in chips from AMD and is set to become one of AMD's biggest shareholders. It committed over $22 billion to a cloud company called CoreWeave. Add it all up, and OpenAI has reportedly promised more than $1 trillion in infrastructure spending over the next decade. $1 trillion from a company that made $13 billion and lost most of it. Now you can see the picture. A small group of companies, Nvidia, OpenAI, Microsoft, Oracle, AMD, CoreWeave, are all investing in each other, buying from each other, and lending to each other. The same dollars rotate around the circle, and every lap shows up as growth on somebody's books. Critics warn this can create, quote, a mirage of growth. If real demand ever falls short of the promises, a single weak link could pull the whole structure down and magnify the losses for everyone in the loop. So let me be completely fair, because the bull case is also real. OpenAI's defenders say this is exactly what every transformational technology looked like early on. Amazon lost money for years and built an empire. Companies bleed cash on purpose to capture a market before anyone else can. Maybe the chips bought today power the profits of tomorrow. Maybe the run rate keeps climbing until revenue swallows the costs. That is the bet. 800 million users is not nothing. But here's the honest version of the math as it stands right now. The revenue is real. The losses are bigger. The compute bill grows with every new user, and a meaningful chunk of the demand that makes this all look unstoppable is the same money, financed by the chipmaker, spent on the chipmaker, counted twice. One more number to sit with. That $38 billion net loss is partly an accounting charge from OpenAI restructuring into a for-profit. The cleaner number, the real operating loss, is about $21 billion. Either way, this is a company spending money faster than almost any company ever has. So, does AI actually make money? Today, the honest answer is not yet. It makes revenue, lots of it. But revenue is not profit, and a circle of investment is not the same as demand. The technology might genuinely change the world, but the next time you see a headline about record AI growth, ask the one question that cuts through all of it. Is that new money coming in? Or is it the same dollar going around one more time? Follow for a new story every day.